NERDtv for the Full Throttle Sim Racing Mach-1 Performance Cup Series Championship race here at the simulated Phoenix Raceway, only on iRacing. 4 drivers, 1 race, 2 different championships, really. So total 6 drivers competing amongst 2 championships. And at Phoenix Raceway, it's going to be an awesome performance for you guys to watch here on NERDtv. Weather on the track today looking pretty good. I would say the track temp being only 92 degrees and the clear sky, 77 degrees in the air. Going to prevent a nice grippy track as this run continues to go through its cycle, and should produce awesome racing for all these guys out here competing tonight for the final race of the 2022 calendar year season. And of course, my name for everyone out there is Jay Stan, and to my right is going to be Pashibyanek. How are you doing for the final race of the 2022 season, Ken?
Remember, we're here after 36 races, and it's going to be a great battle. We mentioned 2 championships going on tonight between 6 different drivers, and you're going to have 2 different champions on either one. So it's going to be a lot of action all night, trying to keep up with everyone and see who's going to pull ahead. And kind of there's no points really for either one, because I think it's a 2-point separation between Paul and Nicholas. So it could be that, but other than that, it's going to be a fun night. Yeah,
the 2022 C would be Paul Bergoli and Nicholas Moreau. Those 2 guys have been duking it out all 2022 C season long, and 2 points separate them. So literally just a toss-up. Whoever brings the better car here will get the job done. And on the flip side, we have 4 guys going for the overall 2022 championship. The bigger picture of the 2, where we're going to find James Wallace, Brody Hanna, Richie Coy, and Wayne Grossi. These guys are going to settle out here in 200 laps.
Yeah, they're excited. Last early season A, Brody took that win over here at Phoenix, so he's definitely got some confidence coming into it. He's moved his way up into the board inside the top 10, so he's producing some more speed. We know Richie was fast here also in the springtime as well. I think he has 67 laps away, I want to say. So he's running up there. I think he's second right now, fastest Jeremy in practice. So he's one to keep an eye on. Those Fury Motorsports.
Yeah, as these cars are laying down rubber on the track, the times have been getting shorter and shorter. 2 drivers have cracked underneath a 27-second. 26.9 both goes to Nicholas Moreau and Richie Coy. So this track's already getting faster. They started this session running 0.2s and 0.1, so we've already seen a 0.2 of a second gain just through this hour-long practice session. And it's only going to get faster as those temps kind of wind down a little bit more. As people learn and study. These tires have been a little different since the first time we came here. They've been updating this car because the first year in real life of the next-gen car. So they've had to update quite a few times to get this thing as realistic as possible. So, but I know Brody's got some high hopes being the winner, and Richie being right up there with them earlier in the season at Phoenix. But they also, remember the past couple of weeks, Brody said they've really found something with this car, and I think that may be the difference for them tonight.
He was pretty excited about that last couple of weeks ago when we talked to him, and they put the show on. I mean, we saw it with Richie last week, and I looked at the the laps away, and I think he got all of them but 1 there, Jeremy. So they found something, and they're putting a show on, and like I mentioned, they're up in the top 5 for Richie and top 10 there for Brody. So they're definitely putting the power. But don't forget about the other 2, Jeremy, that's going to be competing for this championship.
James Wallace, actually I talked to him earlier today. Want to get his thoughts on this race, and he said since the whole team's been running so well in this back half session of 2022, if he can continue that trend, he thinks everything else will just fall into place. So the 67 camp, especially as well as Fury Motorsports, looking like they're pretty happy, pretty stoked for this race tonight.
Yeah, he's been having a good showing here as of late, especially in the C Championship and the playoffs. Early in the playoffs, got a win or 2 there. I think 2. I know he definitely got 1, but also got 2. You might have to correct me on it, but he's definitely been rolling through these playoffs. And Wayne Grossi, he's no one either, Jeremy. He's actually sitting just right outside these guys here in practice, so I imagine he'll be up there contending as well.
Yeah, James Wallace does have 2 wins this season. Just been consistently in the top 5, more so this back half. So it's no surprise that he's really excited for this thing to be completed, and hopefully he comes out on top. At least that's what his team's hoping for anyways. But They are kicking over to qualifying, so that's going to be the end of the pre-race presented by Martin Sports. As we're going to go on board here with, I think, let's go with Richie Coy at 19, one of the guys that are battling for the overall championship. Let's see what kind of lap time this 19 M&M's Ford Mustang can lay down. Second fastest in practice coming into qualifying, so I think they got really good setups here for this qualifying session.
Yeah, he's been putting in a lot of work for this race too, Jeremy. He's wanted to get this championship really bad. He's been, dominating all season, really being consistent. Missed a couple of races there, but always seems to finish right up the top and get a couple wins. So he wants to top it off this year with a championship run.
Yeah, with him and Brody and Tony over there, all just really excited about what they've found for these cars late in the season. I'm expecting nothing but a fantastic result from Fury Motorsports, as he is now taking the green flag here as he goes to the dogleg section. Surprising choice to not cut down below the yellow line there. I figured maybe that would be the early speed advantage, but I guess the 19 right now does not think so, as he takes a little bit wider entrance into 1, drives it to the bottom of 2, and now he sets off into 3 and 4.
Yeah, we see James Wallace and Wayne Rossi there made their qualifying laps on the first attempt, and they're sitting top 10. Rich is going to bring it on down here, see where he puts him at the board. He's going to put him back 13th, 14th right now, Jeremy. We have for Richie Coy, so we'll see what happens on the second lap. But Brody Hanna, he's the third fastest right now.
Yeah, looks like Richie took lap 1 just to warm up the tires. He went really wide in 3 and 4, cut the dogleg that time to enter lap number 2. Now this is heading all for 3 and 4 here. See how he holds it. Holds it pretty good through the bottom of that section of the corner. Comes to the start-finish line. Richie Coy going to put himself right now in
third place, right in front of Brody.
There we go, third place.
Hey, but right there, look at the top 2, Jeremy. The other 2 Championship C drivers right there we've been seeing all season.
Yeah, no shock there. Paul Bergoli. Finally, someone found a 26.8 second time. Mr. Paul did. And Nicholas Moreau. These 2 guys have been so dominant all season, 2022 C season long. It's no surprise they found these guys 1 and 2 so far into this qual session, heading off for the final race of the year.
If you see on the leaderboard there, you have your Championship 4 highlighted in purple. That's going to kind of show you where they're running in tonight's race. And then you're going to have the Championship C. They're going to be highlighted in that little gray as well. So that'll break those 2 up so we can see if you're following on for the C Championship. We know some of our viewers out there following along for the C Championship, and we got the other ones for the overall championship. So that's going to help you kind of find those guys on the leaderboard.
It's a very good call there, and the green is going to be the highlighted driver as well. So on board with Mr. Ryan Chapman right here. So he just completed his laps. Looks like he's going to find himself in 14th spot on the grid. As we got about a minute and a half left in qualifying, only 4 drivers have not taken time. And the drivers have not taken time typically don't qualify for the most part. So this might just be the official grid here in about the next minute.
Yeah, Alex Murphy, he was pretty fast in practice as well. Let's see if he improves on his first lap. He was 4th fastest. No, he's going to stay there sitting in 4th fastest. Broke up Fury Motorsports right there sitting. So, but still, good run there for Alex, and followed up with his practice there.
Yeah, I've been quite impressed with that 31 Alex Murphy. In the past 4 or 5 races, that team has somehow found some extra speed that's been needed, and he was leading the first half of this practice session all by himself there. But late in the going in this session, that some people have found some extra speed on this track, but just overall, Alex Murphy and that team just doing a really solid job, reeling down consistent lap times all race long, been finishing pretty strong. That just nothing but, some positive motivation heading off into 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been seeing some drivers up here running up in the top 5, top 10 in this playoff run that they've been seeing them get faster and faster throughout the season. So as they're getting used to this car, you're seeing some of these guys jump up there and break up this top 5 and top 10 run. So it's nice to see just kind of everyone take to this car here towards the end of the season and having really competitive all around laps with everyone.
And it looks like qualifying has officially ended. So Paul Bergoli going to take home the pole And speaking of Paul Bergoli, the chat system before the green flag flies for the race, we got the crowd already here. Got Michael Dessa saying, "What do you know? Bergoli setting the pace." Yeah, you know it. Christopher Moore saying, "Let's go, Bergoli." And then, of course, can't have the chat's official without Surfer Punkhead in there saying, "So excited. This is going to be an awesome race." You know, she's rooting for Paul Bergoli as well. So, cheerleading squad is out there for the 8 camp, trying to get this 2022 C Championship done and not claim it as his. But we have our official grid presented by Racing Eye Flag set up for you guys here. As we get our faces off the screen, we're going to go full screen with the starting order. Top 10, Paul Bergoli P1, Nicholas Moreau going to be starting in second place. Those two guys, of course, going for that 2022 C Championship, highlighted in gray on the tower. Third place, Richie Coy. Fourth place, Alex Murphy. Fifth place, Brody Hanna. Starting at 6th, Lane Allen. 7th place, Josh Mayu. 8th place, Simon Magnan. Starting in 9th, David Courier. And tonight's top 10, Sherwood Williford.
Starting in 11th is going to be Martin Garreau. 12th is going to be James Wallace. Rolling off in 13th is going to be Brian Bliss. 14th is going to be Chris Beck. 15th is going to be rolling off just Ryan Chapman. 16th is going to be Brian Dubois. 17th, Tony Solari. Rolling off in 18th is going to be one of your Championship 4, Wayne Grossi. On his outside is going to be Brandon Elder, rolling off in 19th. And 20th is Joshua Johnson.
21st, going to find Chris Curtis. And then the final 4 did not qualify. Fred Mayu starting in 22nd. You know he will not be in the back of the pack when this thing gets about halfway through this race. He always puts on a strong run. 23rd, Ryan Hedrick. 24th, Steve Loomis. And around out tonight's 25 car lineup, Alan Crowell. Pace car is already down with the really early entry to pit road. Since this reconfiguration, the pit road starts a lot earlier than most tracks. There's waiting for Paul Bergoli to see the official green flag set sail for the final time in 2022. Him and F15 have a hell of a battle to go with one another for 200 laps. The green flag is officially underway. The 15 matches the 8's restart. They makes a huge cut to the bottom with the 19, the 23, the 12, and a couple others. And it's going to give Paul maybe just the advantage entering turns 1 and 2 here, but the 15 with a super strong setup here through first couple corners, trying to match that speed of the 8 as they head off into 3.
Yeah, great run there by the 15 off of the turn 2 there. He's going to have another great run here. Jeremy coming back to the start finish, see if he can get that lap 1 lead, but Paul Bergoli's fighting strong on that inside. You're going to see him duck down low. Not as many takers as I thought we would have on that restart.
We got to reckon back. Sorry about that. It looks like the 33 of Williford going to be involved with a couple others here. The 46, Simon Magnan, the 03 of David Courier, and one of your championship contenders, James Wallace, in the 67, gets a little bit of a right front damage impact to that car. 4 or 5 cars going to bring up the first caution here on lap number 2.
A lot of cars there. You said that there was a wreck. Ooh, yeah. You see the 46 there getting a little loose, and then kind of everyone behind him just ended up just running right in the back of him there.
It looks like the 44 there of Chris Beck also gets some contact on the back of the 33 of Sherwood Williford. 37, Brian Dubois runs to the back of him, virtue of a domino effect. So it actually looks about 6 cars are going to be involved in this wreck here on lap number 2. Couple heavy impacts. None of them, though, are going to affect your championship contenders. I think James Wallace is going to be okay with very slight fender damage to that 67.
Yeah, I think the 67, James Wallace is going to be pretty all right there on that outcome. But yeah, 44 there, Jeremy, just Chris Beck got hit twice. Once, actually, I think he got hit in the back, too, so he got 3 hard hits there. I think his night's pretty much all but over with that, as we saw there on NERDtv. That was a hard hit all around for him. Yeah,
and that was direct nose impact to you. You don't want to see it on the nose. That affects your aerodynamics. That could affect your radiator and a couple other things. Just massive wreck here on lap number 2, and that's the nature of the beast with this dog leg. You cut down so far, you separate yourself from about 10 car lengths in spaces between the top and the bottom, and when you come back up the track, you sometimes, if you're not paying attention outside the corner of your window, you don't know where that guy's going to be truly until you get there, and that's exactly what happened there. Caused a little bit of a contact and sent him into the wall, and since it's only lap 2, these guys had not separated, and it caused the biggest wreck we've seen in 2022C, I do believe.
Yeah, I believe so as well. It could have been worse, honestly, though. There was a lot of guys that was able to get around that wreck, so good avoidance by all of them. And As you mentioned, we only got one lap in, so these guys are definitely not coming down pit road. We're going to line them up almost identical to the way they started. I think Nicholas was able to edge Paul out there, and we're going to see Richie and Brody now inside the top 5. So those Fury Motorsports, Jeremy, they're trying to get it early.
Nicole Jacobs there on the chat saying, let's go, Paul, with the car and the checker flag. So 4 people already rooting for Paul there in the chats. If you're not a Paul fan, you can also chat along with us here. They're on the Facebook and the YouTube. We'll gladly read out everything that you guys want to post there on the chat. As long as it's necessary and, correct, we'll definitely do that for you guys. I actually love interacting with each and every one of you that participate in our broadcast. But Kenny, I think that 15 definitely sheds some light on how well that middle to upper groove is going to work for that 15. He had such dominant pace through that first set of corners in 1 and 2 rather. That kind of put him in P1 right now.
He found something up there, and we'll see if he utilizes it here on this restart once he see if he can clear Paul. But Paul's solid as well, so I don't expect anything less if he tries it as well.
Looks like Chris Becht has disconnected from the session. Simon Magden apologizing, so I think he took claim for that wreck. As we go back to green flag, the 15 with an excellent start here. Goes deep to the bottom. The 8 kind of halfways it through the dog leg, comes back onto the surface. The 15 clears him by 2 car lengths. And the 19 of Richie Cole with his teammate Brody Hanna nose to tail here as they are 3rd and 4th coming into 3 and 4.
Lean off of the corner there as we're heading into the turn 3 and 4 right here. You're going to see him. I thought I saw a little check up there on the inside lane there. Tony Solari back there. But all is clean as we see Paul trying to make a run here, Jeremy, at 15 of Nicholas Moreau. But we know he's got the speed, and we know he's got the long run speed as well. So seeing him back there doesn't surprise me. They'll be switching spots all night.
Yeah, I know that number 5 especially is going to be just zooming through the front here. 67 looks like he had little damage repaired, and he's good to go. That car looks super clean. He's going to be doing just fine as he's going a little bit of a 3-wide situation here with the 11 and the 5, and the 5 and 67 almost make a slight contact exiting turn number 4. Oh, the 98. 98 of Delts, I think, no. Chris Curtis, he does spin out. Heavy impact to the inside retaining wall. Surprisingly, no caution by iRacing. We're going to stay green flag here as 98's got some heavy repairs to make to the rear end of that 98 AC Delco car. You see him right there get really loose, corrects it, but just a little too late and square rear ends the wall. And I guess, Kenny, if you're going to hit the wall, you want to do it square in the rear. You're not going to get your concussions in a virtual car, and you're not going to break the suspension by squaring up the impact.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it. If you're gonna wreck, go ahead and do it that way. But he wishes there was gonna be a caution. But I think with everyone going by him as he was spinning onto the inside, I don't think that's why iRacing felt necessary to throw a caution. So unfortunate for him, but these guys are still racing at as we see. Nicholas still leading the way here, Jeremy, on lap 10 of 200 tonight. So we got quite a long one here for the championship, which is a good one. So we love to see these long races. These guys keep it nice and clean, and it's kind of odd to see that big of a wreck that we saw, Jeremy, but I wouldn't be surprised they keep this thing going green the rest of the way.
Yeah, a couple of these cars have some handling issues I've seen midfield on back. I want to kick it back over to 4th place, Brody Hanna. He's already dropped back to almost 2 seconds. And I talked to him also before this race, or even practice got underway. And he was saying he feels pretty good about tonight's race. He's at a disadvantage because he thinks the short track tire is not where it needs to be, and compared to how he drives it. But he also said he's going to need some long green flag runs to have a chance. He won here in the spring. He knows the cars are also different. But at the same time, he thinks he has it, especially with that late findings that this team has found. So not surprised to see Brody dropping super far back here, already 2.3 seconds now. But if that long run does show up, I expect that 23 to be back up there in the top 3.
And we've seen this, all season from Brody. He will be back there about top 10, creeping inside top 5. Next thing you know, he's on the podium. And he just finds a way with this car, tweaks it every now throughout the race, and just finds a way up there. So, he's starting to have a love-hate relationship more on that love side, I think, than the hate side now. But he just finds his way up there. So, he's sitting in 4th right now, and I don't expect him to be any less if we see him in the podium tonight, Jeremy.
Yeah, he'll definitely find his way up there for sure. I'm curious now how this 15 is going to do. He sets the pace always early and strong. But that same token, it's hit or miss if he can hold the long run. Sometimes he just dominates and takes off. Sometimes he falls back 5 or 6 spots before the first set of pit stops. So we'll have to see how that 15 does run through. As we're on board mid-pack here, it looks like 67 James Wallace in a really tight pack here with 5 Fred and Road, the 10 of Ryan Chapman, 03 of David Courier, and a couple others, even Wayne Grossi there in the Gator Racing black and green Chevrolet Camaro just a couple spots ahead. You see James Wallace there running the middle of the upper groove. That's classic James Wallace there, not running the bottom at the moment.
You mentioned the 5 of Fred Moreau making his way up through the field. He's gained 10 spots here since the drop of the green flag, Jeremy. So he's making his way up there in a hurry. It's, we always see him start in the back, not make that qualifying run, and then he's up in the field within 15, 20 laps. So it's fun to see him coming through the field. And he's still moving. He's pulling on James Wallace right now as well.
It really is. And going back to the chats, Debbie Desta also says, let's go Podium Pablo Bergoli. That Podium Paul name just gets more creative each and every week. We'll see what 2023 has in store. But at the moment, we got 5 Paul Bergoli fans out here in the chats, Ken.
And that's good. I mean, he's got good following, and I think it just keeps growing and growing every race. So we love to see all the support out there for these drivers.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest group of fans we've seen, at least all of 2022, all cheering him on. He's going for that C championship. And if he does compete for all of 2023, you know that 8 car is going to have a really good chance for the overall championship next year.
You see these guys starting to get spread out just a little bit here. We still got tight little battle in the pack there, but they're still just single file. It's hard to tell some of these times, Jeremy, these guys when they swoop down off the start finish line there and they head down to the bottom. I can't tell if they're spinning out or if they're dive bombing in there sometimes with this camera angle, but that one got me there for a second. I thought they were going around.
Yeah, how much those cars jump around. And remember, these next gen cars don't have the suspension as we've seen in other cars in the stock car world, so those little bumps and apron transitions are just a little more aggressive than you would normally see, and it's probably causing some of these ill handling issues for these guys as they continue to cut through the dogleg, which you will see every single lap essentially as they try to shortcut the course and get the best time possible each and every lap. And to go through that dogleg, you're going to need a set of Martin Sports gloves. You're going to go to martinsports.gg, home of the sim gloves of all of sim racing.
5. Definitely top 10s all playoffs. So he's got the speed here as well to compete with these guys and maybe see if he can get a little further once he gets to Brody if he can.
And that's the goal right now. Brody's dropping back a little bit more from these top 3 cars. 3 seconds separate 4th and 5th place. Let's see if Lane Allen has a long run stretch. That 14 has surprised me from time to time. Be able to crank out faster lap times, in the middle of the late part of the run. We'll see if that Mountain Dew 14 has it again tonight.
We have one of our championship 4, Jeremy, just jumped up into the top 10. Actually went from 11th to 9th that last lap of James Wallace. As you mentioned, just got a little bit of ding up there, and I think he was kind of mid-pack or further on that restart, and he's gained a lot of ground here as he's creeping his way up into the top 10 a little bit further. So nice to see these other championship 4s coming up to the front of this top 10 as well and compete a little bit. So we're going to have a nice little tight battle, I believe, with all these championships. There's a lot of racing going on around the track right now.
18 hard of the wall in turn number 1. It looks like he had an issue off of turn number 4. That's Brian Bliss. Almost cut down the track and saw the 37 of Brian Dublé, and they almost made contact. That's why the 18 found himself again in the wall in turn 1 that time. No caution for that car's impact, and you can see him as he coming down pit road. That right front tire is completely disconnected. That's a required 8 minutes of repair before they can even fix the cosmetic section. It's gonna be tough for that camp. They're running in 5th or 6th place before that impact. So a strong run out early here on lap 29.
Yeah, he's having a great run. We saw him in that pack there, 5 or 6 drivers there. And that's unfortunate. He was having a great run, do a little burnout there as he exits the car. So I think that might be Brian's night, unfortunately. Hate to see it with that great run that he was having, but as we see back here on NERDtv, Nicholas Moreau still pacing around the field right now. Got a 2-second lead over Paul Bergoli, who got back around Richie Coy. So that's going to put Paul back in second, Richie in third, Brody's going to be in fifth, and running out your top 5 is going to be Lane Allen right now.
And right now, I'm sure the 19 is glad to see his teammate just over a second behind him right now. Even though he lost a spot to Paul Bergoli, he is still the top runner in this championship for, and that's all he needs. He can finish behind the 8 and the 15. That's perfectly fine. But if he finishes third, he's still going to get this job done. But you got to watch out for Brody Hanna, though. Remember, he's hoping for the long run. So as we're 33 laps in, this is that time where the 23 might flip the script and start running down his teammate.
We didn't see him in the spring race until probably the last 10 laps or so, and then that's when Brody made his way up there and was able to take that win away. So he could be looking for something like that as well. I know it's like you mentioned, different tire component and everything right now, but that could be something that's in the back of his head. It's not over till it's over, and he was able to pull it off in the spring like that. So.
And we're also on board here at the 67, James Wallace, as he crossed the line for lap 34. This guy has had the best long runs I have seen all of 2022 on average. And no surprise that even with the wreck, he fell back, toward the back of the field to get that repaired. And he's crept up all the way now to 8th place. So James Wallace on the charge here, trying to track down where he was and where he should be, which should be close to these front runners right now.
It's like Brody Hanna's going to make a pass here on his teammate, Richie Coy. It's going to put Brody into that 3rd spot. Not sure if Richie is having some bad tire wear right now or what's going on, but he is losing some spots and time quite quickly here right now, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm looking at the times, and I'm not seeing Brody catching the leaders. I just think it's just a factor of the 19 has just overdone his tires early on and allowed the 23 to come through, which this is exactly what the 23 wanted. He knew the long run had to be his, and within 5 laps, he went from a second back to passing the 19 and putting on almost an entire second between him and the 19 already. So early tire issues and handling issues, I think, for the 19, but the 23... Brody Hanna, currently your championship top runner right now.
Yeah, Richie, that lap that Brody got around him, he was almost half a second slower there than his normal laps previous, and he was able to bring it back this last time. But you can see Lane Allen right there, Jeremy, just gaining so much there in the corner, and he's going to get a great run off him. He's going to try to make a inside move here, but he's just able to hold it down where Richie's not. And then right behind them, you see is going to be James Wallace as well. He's going to try to make his way up in here and get ahead of Richie Coy, he's fighting for the championship. So if he can get ahead of him, that's one in front of him that he's got to get by now.
They're on board now with the 14 of Lane Allen, looking on the roof camera back at that 19 Ford Mustang. Now currently second in the championship overall position. And behind that 19, it's Mr. Fred Moreau. As soon as he gets around Richie, that's going to be 5th place, 22nd to 6th at the moment. And this guy is not done. If he gets one caution, expect that 5 car to be, contending for even the win. I think on average, this car has the fastest pace of the race.
My apologies, I thought it was James Wallace, but yeah, Fred's going on the inside right here. Richie Coy, he's fast all night, Jeremy. Hasn't missed a beat. That's going to put him 17 spots gained since the drop of the green flag, 40 laps. That's pretty good. It's almost one driver every couple of laps, so great pace that he's putting on.
And this is classic for Ed Moreau. Does not qualify and just likes passing cars, apparently. And he does a really solid job at doing so. Already running in 5th now, so he does have another 7.5 seconds between him and his teammate, Mr. Nicholas Moreau from Moreau Motorsports. So on pace to maintain that kind of position between him and the 15, but I think a new set of tires or even a caution will be beneficial to that 5 to creep further inside the top 5. But I want to kick it back to Richie Coy, who's now 7.8 seconds back, currently in 6th place. He's only got a couple cars between him and James Wallace, even, who's been running strong, still running in 8th right now.
Alex Murphy's right there. If he just slides up just a little bit, you'll see Alex kind of try to make that look on the inside. And we've seen Alex have the speed all night during practice, qualifying, even during the race. So Richie's got to be careful. As you mentioned, James Wallace would be the one right behind him, and that's a top 4 contender. You know, if something happens to Brody, then you're back in first there. So you always want to try and be ahead of, not be the one that's in last. But we see Wayne too, Jeremy. He's moved his way up to 11th place. So he's on the move. So we're about to see all championship 4 here in the top 10.
Yeah, Wayne's up 7 spots since the green flag, 42 laps ago. But as we watch these guys before pit stops, we're going to kick it over to a first picture-in-picture commercial break. We'll be right back with you guys after a few messages. And welcome back to full screen coverage for the final race of the 2022 calendar year's season here for Full Throttle Sim Racing Mach-1 Performance Cup Series. Nicholas Moreau still leading the charge. Only 1.4 seconds separates him between him and his other competitor that he needs to watch out for, Mr. Paul Bergoli, as these two battle for that C championship here. Only 2 points separate them out. So it's anyone's game at this point. Third place, Brody Hanna has picked up a couple tenths this past few laps. As we go through the Mach-1 Performance Top 10 recap for that matter, Brody running pretty strong lap times. Second fastest car on the track, I would say, on the last 10 lap average here. Right behind him, the 14, Elaine Allen, also one of those guys that have been just pushing strong lap times. And also behind Lane Allen, round out tonight's top 5 so far. Fred Moreau in that 5 machine. Hard Charger Award, 17 positions earned in under 50 laps. I think he has the fastest pace right now out of all the cars on the track on the last 10 laps. 6th place, Alex Murphy, still running a pretty dominant race. for that machine. Ran up there in practice pretty damn good. Qualifying did pretty well for him, and he's consistently been right there at the top 5. Richie Coy, championship contender, has fallen back to 7th place, 12.5 seconds back now of your race leader. So that car's gotten really tight, unable to rotate the center of the corner, is really pushing him back in a weird predicament. We've not seen the 19 in quite some time. Right behind him, another championship contender, James Wallace, involved in that wreck in lap number 2. Had just slight right front damage, had to get it repaired. Comes back on the track and patches a bunch of cars, and now he's looking to be the 2nd fastest guy in the championship 4. 9th place, Tony Solari. They're in that number 11 Ford Mustang, running a pretty clean, stout race, 17th to 9th. So 8 positions gained for that Menards Ford. And then tonight's top 10 round up there, Josh Mayu in the 12, running all by himself at the moment. A whopping 20 seconds back from Nicholas Moreau. Very clean overall, just consistent lap race here from the 12 of Josh Mayu. And that, once again, is your Mach-1 Performance Top 10 recap.
Remember, all that was going on. Wayne Grossi, one of your Championship 4 contenders here, coming down pit road, making the first pit stop. See him come down on lap 54, so we'll see what kind of pit strategy everyone else plays. We saw different ones by different drivers a couple weeks ago, so we'll see what they all decide to do tonight.
Yeah, that was your lowest running car in the Championship 4, so why not do a little bit of a gamble? You know that pace is not where you need it to be, so get the fresh tires early. Try to make the most you can out of it. Maybe you catch a caution at the right time. Maybe it sets them up for a good, mid-race here. We'll have to find out. But this is going to be temporarily a huge game for that 7. Is he going to be about a second and a half faster than the guys without tires every single lap until the other guys pit? Which I would imagine that fuel strategy or the pit window is going to be about, ending here in about the next 10, 15 laps, I would say.
Right, so he's coming back on the track. You saw a battle between Wayne Allen and Brody Hanna, and Wayne was able to get around Brody for that 3rd position, so that's going to move Wayne Allen to his highest running spot as of today in that 3rd spot, putting Brody back in the 4th, and Fred's still sitting right there in 5th. He hasn't really gained any ground on these two, but he hasn't lost anything. He's been sitting right there behind him this probably last 10, 15 laps.
Yeah, his car's kind of mellowed out there. He got to about 6.5 seconds back, and then he just kind of been flatlined compared to his teammate, the 15 that's leading the race currently. But that doesn't mean he's still faster than some of these other guys. Look just in front of him is your current 2022 championship leader, 23 Brody Hanna. He's got about a couple laps, and I think he's going to get himself around that 23 to put himself in 4th place. Just a pretty impressive thing. It always blows my mind to see this 5 car not qualify, start, basically dead last, and then within 50 laps, able to pass 2/3 of the field.
It's fun to watch him come through the field too, and just move his way through everybody. And what I mean by that is, he's getting by everyone nice and clean, but just the way he comes through the field, slicing and dicing through everyone, it's pretty fun to watch. As we see, Wayne was able to get one of his laps back here. I'm still watching on board with Wayne to see what he's doing. He was able to get 1 lap back, racing around these guys. So we'll see how much ground he can make by the time they come in. Jeremy, see if it was worth coming in early.
Yeah, so far you can see the huge difference if you kick over to Wayne Grossi. You look from the backside of his car, you can just see the 15 becoming more and more distant. He catches now the 37 to Dublé, who was involved in that lap 2 incident as well. Just completely passes him with ease, no problem there. Looking on the roof camera now, cutting that dog leg. You see the advantage there just on that section alone. And then the 15, that car that's behind the purple machine, he's just a dot. Way far behind. You can see him catching out the 57 here of Joshua Johnson. Just past him, essentially like he's sitting still. So you can see the difference there in the tires.
We saw this yesterday as well. Why some of the guys coming through the field like this, as far as what their pit strategies were playing effect. So, see, got in the wall right there behind him. To see back who that was, but as they were coming back off the transition there, just tapped the wall. David Courier there. Not too much damage. You can definitely see where he hit it though, but he'll be okay with these bodies.
His carbon composite bodies take a little more of a beating than most other ones. It was just a light contact there by the 0-3 of David Courier. Should not be an issue for that car, especially at a shorter style track like Phoenix. You don't need the aerodynamics as much as you would, let's say, like a Texas or Atlanta or Charlotte or anything of that nature. So really surprised, though, to see the 7 such an early pit stop compared to everybody else. We're about 10 laps in since that pit stop there by that 7 car, and no one else has really pitted. So the 7's making up a ton of ground here. So if he can catch a caution after everyone pits, this is going to be super beneficial for this Gator Racing machine.
Yeah, he came down on lap 54, so it'll be about 10 laps now coming up here before anyone's come down. And he's still, even if a caution does come out, Jeremy, as far as like any lucky dog situation or anything like that, he's still not in contention for that. You have the 98 there of Chris Curtis, who we saw go around on one of those restarts, so he's still riding around. He would be in contention of the lucky dog if there is any caution that comes out right now, so he's got to run him down, but he's pretty far out ahead of him, so I don't know if he'll be able to do that until the cycle pit stops come around for him.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I know that window's coming up real soon. It's just who's going to be the next taker, who's going to try to take the advantage with the tires and see if they can get as much as they can out of it as possible. As we're approaching lap 65 this time, as Nick Morrow does cross the line here in the next couple seconds. It's going to be about a third of the way done with this event. As you guys are still trucking along. As they do truck along, though, I'd love to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors. This time, Roasted Gems Coffee offers premium quality, ethically produced coffee gems from different parts of the world, coupled with delicious blends and flavors that'll make your taste buds melt with delight. Roasted Gems Coffee is the only place to quench your caffeinated coffee desires. They value your coffee experience, with each order roasted to perfection upon order and shipped straight to your door for peak flavor. So, if you have a want for a mellow flavor with just a hint of caffeine to start your day right, or if you want coffee so strong it'll show up on a drug test, Roasted Gems Coffee has you covered. You're going to find all their flavor options at roastedgems.com. Super nerds at checkout's going to get you 10% off your order. And Kenny, we got pit stops underway. I see the 15 and the 5 down pit road.
Yeah, and you got the 8, Paul Bergoli. He first one to come down with Richie Coy right behind him as well. So you got those top 10 drivers coming down. As you see Paul rolling off right now. He's going to be the first one down, first one out. We'll see what this cycles around. He beat Nicholas in by 1 lap, so we'll see how much ground he can gain there. I think he was about 1 second or just over a second back when he came down.
We see really the top 4 or 5 or so far just coming down all within the same lap or 2. So they all just were waiting for the first one to pull down, it looks like. And everybody else just follows suit. You see the 23 coming down pit road right now. Last of your championship guys to make their pit stop. Let's see how good it is. 37 slightly overshoots the stall as we quickly switch to the 47 of Mr. Hedrick. But he's getting service now. And this should be quite interesting to see where this 7 car ends up, Ken.
Yeah, everyone came down. I think he had about, 12 laps or so, older tires now. And, as quickly as we saw him going around everyone, it's going to be kind of the opposite now. He's put that much more laps on those tires than everyone else has, so they'll start coming back to him. But looks like Paul Jeremy actually made up that time. He's almost just over a second faster than Nicholas, coming down 1 lap sooner.
You see the 8 car right now ahead of the 15 by probably a half a second at this rate, maybe a little bit more. Scoreboard last lap did say a whole second as they come across the line this time for lap 68 to be completed. Separation only a half a second. So great battle here for the 2022 C championship contenders. We also had our camera on James Wallace earlier. He is the final championship car out of the 6 total in the field to make his pit stop. He's coming to the service of his crew right now, Kenny.
He's going to give up that lead, and once this rotation comes around, we're going to see Paul probably take over with Nicholas right behind him. But we saw James Wallace with some strategy a couple weeks ago as well on these pit stops. So this time he's going a little bit further than short. But yeah, he did overshoot his pit there, Jeremy. So we're going to have a couple seconds lost on him.
Wasn't much, but it's just enough. And the competition, the way it is right now, you can't give up that time, and hopefully it doesn't cost him too much, probably that second or 2, like you said. And that can mean the world here at Phoenix, as we're already got 70 laps in the books. Last of your 6 championship racers down pit road and out as they cycle through right now. It looks like Paul Bergoli will resume your race leader as the 12 of Josh Mew is the last car to pit. You see him coming down pit road right now. And actually the 15, Nicholas Moreau, I apologize, got around the 8 this time. So Nicholas Moreau is going to actually resume as your race lead over the 8.
Yeah, he was able to get around him that last lap there and take that lead back over. As he has the 47 there, Ryan Hedrick right in front of him. See if this was at the 15 and always trying to make a pass here on Ryan. But great move there. He's able to see here on NERDtv, able to regain that lead over Paul.
Cuts that dog leg massively. Comes back onto the track and just clears the 8 there. The 15 was such a strong car early on. If he can maintain that pace once again like he did the first run, he had about a second to a second and a half lead over Paul that entire first stint here. But now as they enter stint number 2 on these green flag runs, as long as nothing's changed, I don't see much different going on here. So the 8 definitely needs to make some changes to be able to run with that 15, because I think the 15 just has a little bit faster car tonight.
And for Paul, he needs to have Nicholas go actually probably back the 3rd to have even a chance, because he came in 2 points back of Nicholas. So he needs to have some more, he needs to win the race and have Nicholas go back a few more, because I think Nicholas is kind of trying to take over this laps led point as well. So, but as you mentioned, Paul just doesn't have the car for Nicholas tonight, but it is early, Jeremy. We're still only on lap 74, so there's plenty more time where he can make some adjustments here and see if he can fine-tune it a little bit and get up there and kind of get back in the lead here.
Yeah, for sure, as that lead almost gets extended by an entire second here as the 8 comes across to the 47. He's on board right now with the number 5, Fred Moreau, running 3rd place. Almost gained 20 positions, 19 counted down right now for that 5, even though he's 12 seconds back. I think if he gets that caution, you better watch out for that 5.
Yeah, if he can bunch up there and get up with the leaders, it'll be fun to watch him run up there with these guys, because he definitely has the speed on the track right now. All race, really.
Yeah, it's the late run. I think he's had the fastest pace out of all drivers. The front half of the run here, he's a little bit slower, but he definitely saves the tires. He's on that Brody Hanna strategy where he lets the car come to him and he takes advantage of it from there. Kicking it back over to your championship runners here. Wayne Grassi is getting passed by Brody Hanna and Richie Coy right now. Those 3 cars, 3 of the 4 overall championship contenders. Richie Coy, he's running a little bit better position than what he was before they came down pit road, but Brody Hanna still has the advantage over these 3.
Yeah, they're all running 5, 6, 7, and 8 right now. You got James Wallace. He's running that 8th spot. He's not in this group of these guys because he had that pit stop where he overshot his pits there, but he is still on the lead lap. He's going to be the last one on the lead lap right now in 8th position. So your championship 4 are all within 4 of each other, and then you have your championship for C right there in 1 and 2. So these championship battles are heating up tonight.
Yeah, it looks like Brody Hanna definitely has the car between these 4. As Richie, he definitely needs that car loosened up on the long run, even though he works really close with that 23 camp. When you're both going for the championship, I think you're going to preserve some of those secrets for yourself to get that edge. And it looks like the 23 has that advantage so far tonight.
He's having a great run. He's been consistently in that top 5 all night. Started in 5th, and we saw him move up as far as 3rd place there. And he just kind of hung around. But like you said, it doesn't matter if you get 1st or 6th, as long as you're ahead of all the top 4 championship drivers. That's all that matters.
It's really all that matters. And I want to kick it over to Richie Coy. Also talked to him. 3 of the 4 championship contenders was able to get a word from him. Richie said he was pretty nervous actually tonight. He just wants to get onto the track and start racing. And then he needs to get all he can out of that M&M's Ford Mustang and cross the line ahead of the other championship 3, of course. If he can get up front and lead and maybe win the race, I'll take care of it for him. That was his thoughts. But right now he needs a little bit more out of that car to get to where he needs to be. It's got a lot of space between Brody Hanna and the next car. So essentially, you can just say the 23 is leading the race. Forget about the guys in front of him, which he's right there in his sights, just underneath 1 second.
Yeah, and he sees him there. So he can get to him. And as you mentioned, being teammates, they probably have setups pretty close to each other than their own little tweaks. And as you said, they might be holding on to something, but we know the speed is pretty comparable. And I mentioned another top 4 championship driver, Jeremy, Wayne Grossi. He's falling back. He's in the 7th spot right now, only 4 seconds ahead of James Wallace. We mentioned they have, I think on James Wallace, actually, Jeremy, he might have probably 16 or 17 laps fresher tires than Wayne Grossi does. So it has paid off, though, for Wayne. I will say that he has gained some ground, but he's definitely falling back with these fresher tires for everyone else.
Yeah, I'd say overall the gain was a positive notion. It's just, it's got to be a little bit of a heart pull there to see the guys that you need to be running with, but your tires are a lot older and you just cannot compete at the level they are right now. And as they just get further and further away from the windshield, and then you look back and you're like, oh man, I got the last one that's coming up now under 2 seconds from my rearview mirror here. We know the 67 is really fast. Only 8 seconds separates that 67 from the 23 and 19. So I think the 67's got something here. I just really feel like he needs a caution. I really believe that 67 can compete with the 23 and 19 here toward the end of the race.
As much as we don't want to see any wrecks out here, it would be nice to see something like that with the speed that we have with some of these guys tonight, to see them all kind of bunch up and have a shot at it. But it'll be fun to see, though. We still see him here. He just went around Wayne Grossi. That's going to put him in that 3rd contender spot of the championship 4, 7th overall. So as you mentioned, he's got some speed. We'll see how much ground he can gain on Richie Coy here over the next 10 laps or so.
On the top right-hand portion of your screen, you do see that pit strategy, which James Wallace is no stranger to changing it up on pit road. You see the massive difference between Hanna, Coy, and Grossi compared to Wallace. So Wallace was one of the last guys to pit. So in theory, as this run continues to wind down a little bit, that car should just be getting a little faster here and there. Looks like it is. He's about 7.5 seconds now outside of Brody Hanna, who's currently in 5th place. So it's kind of cool to see the championship 4 running in succession, 5, 6, 7th, and 8th. Wouldn't want to have that, any other way except for maybe 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. But we also have another championship, and those guys are running 1, 2. So there's no real clear dominant car here tonight.
Yeah, and then as you mentioned, you have the 2 in between them who's just out here to show they have the fastest car tonight and see if they can get a win out of it. So, battle amongst everybody with a couple different championships, and then you have guys that just want to get a win. So it's putting on a good race inside this top 8 that's still on the lead lap, and even ones outside it. I mean, you see Ryan Hedrick, Alex Murphy, Joshua Johnson. Those guys have been fast all night as well. So pit strategies put them a lap down, but that still hasn't took their speed away.
It really has not. The minus the 2 guys ahead class of the field, the 15 and 8, just on a whole another zip code. Everybody else is, running pretty good times overall. So we're looking kind of through the field here. The 47 coming up to the back of just got passed by the 8 rather, I do believe. A Paul Bergoli there. The 8 and the 15, they brought a whole different animal to this track, being 13 seconds ahead of 3rd place, Mr. Fred Moreau. Still surprised to see that 5 up there in the top 5 the way he is, such dominant fashion, but you can never count out the 15 and 8 for sure. I want to kick it over to one of our partners here. This time it's going to be the Butt Kicker, the official audio partner for the Nerditudes. The Butt Kicker, especially that Gamer 2 unit, is the standard in sim racing immersion, giving sim racers haptic transducers, which easily attach to any center post gaming chair or sim rigs. The product will produce that much needed feel from the seat. The drivers really need to perform at their peak performance. You can see their entire product line at thebuttkicker.com.
We see Wayne Grossi just went a lap down to Nicholas Moreau there this time by. And Jeremy, that 98, a Chris Curtis, he might be 2 laps down, but he was all over the back bumper, the 15 there, Nicholas Moreau, for probably about the last 3 laps or so. So, putting a little pressure on Nicholas here.
You know, in his position, I guess he's just trying to. He's not for position, right? He's just out there running currently in 17th place, the only car 2 laps down. So maybe just trying to have a little bit of fun with these guys out here. Trying to see what maybe the 15's doing, maybe kind of mimic some of the things of how the 15's driving the corner entry, corner exit. And if you can get right to the bumper and kind of imitate that, you can kind of learn that perspective of it. But you still need to bring the setup. And I think that's where Moreau Motorsports has come to shine here this entire season. Able to rotate just a little bit better drive on exit, and the long runs have been super stout. But 98 still keeping it close to that 15.
Yeah, and you can see the damage that he had from when he backed into the wall there. But as you mentioned, especially in the sim world, it's better to do that because it's just going to keep on going. Don't have to worry about any front end damage or components like that. That's going to wear on you. But yeah, he's still keeping up with the 15. Like you said, he might be just running that line. He's kind of backed off a little bit. He's not right on the back, but he's still keeping pace up with them. So, like you said, he might be just out there just trying to have some fun and find a new line to run.
Yeah, might as well, just kind of logging laps here as we're almost halfway done with this event. We got 5.5 laps left before we cross the line for lap 100. Completed of scheduled 200 here. Almost halfway. And Paul Bergoli has kind of dropped back, Kenny. We saw him about a second and a half that first stint. Now in this run here, about 30 laps or so in, he's 2.5 seconds back. So Paul's dropping back a little bit further than what we expected.
Yeah, I mean, he did drop back, I think, over 2 seconds the last run, and then he was able to bring it back into about a second. So we'll have to see if he might have that same type of long run here. I think they came down on lap 64, 65 or so. So about another 30, just over 30 laps, I want to say, until he come back down. So we'll have to see where he goes from there. But wouldn't be surprised if he starts kind of reeling Nicholas back in here later in this run.
And we'll keep our eye out on that as we're going to go back to picture-in-picture mode. We're going to go back to our second commercial break. So guys, stay tuned. We'll be back to you guys here momentarily. Welcome back to full screen coverage for the Full Throttle Sim Racing Mach-1 Performance Championship race here at Phoenix Raceway. We're going to go down our Mach-1 Performance Top 10 recap once again. Nicholas Moreau currently doing it 2.5 seconds over second place. Paul Bergoli, these two, the 15 and the 8, just putting on a huge run on this entire field. And no different surprises here, you know. It's been like this all season for the most part. These guys have 6 wins out of 9 completed events. So no surprise to see the 15 and the 8 out here doing their thing 1 and 2. I'm going to kick it back to third place. Fred Moreau, still one of your fastest guys on the long run. He's now closed that gap to 10.5 seconds. He came out of pit road 13 seconds back, and now he's picked up 3 seconds. Find himself there just a little bit closer to these guys up there in the front. Fourth place, you're going to find that 14 of Lane Allen. 2 spots gained since the start of this race 105 laps ago. Running a really strong, consistent race. Been really coming on strong here for 2022C. Picking up a lot of momentum for the next season in 2023. Fifth place, Brody Hanna, your top running championship contender. As he has been basically the head of the field as far as those 4 guys in particular go. But Richie Coy has found some steam after that pit stop. I think he found some late race speed here. It's running in 6th place, the 19. Keeping it within 1 second of his teammate Brody Hanna, which he had a much further gap that last time around before the pit stops. So let's see if he can continue that trend. 7th place, you're going to find James Wallace, that's 67, also in the championship battle here. He's got that much later pit strategy than the 19 and the 23 have. He's currently sitting 5.5 seconds back. They came out of pit road all about, I think, 8 seconds back, so he's gained 2.5. He's still making a fast charge to try to get to them before the pit stops do happen once again. 8th place, your first car 1 lap down, Tony Solari, running also a really strong race for that Fury Motorsports camp. Hasn't done anything wrong, just been running consistent lap times. Right behind him in 9th place, Ryan Hedrick. They're in that 47 DraftKings Chevrolet Camaro. And then 10th place to round out the top 10 recap. Number 31 of Alex Murphy dropped 6 back since the start of the race. But still, pretty good run overall, I would say, for the Alex Murphy camp.
Jeremy, as you're doing another rundown of the top 10, you had Wayne Grossi come make a pit stop as well. So he's going to come back down, keep it on the same cycle that he was about I think it was about 52, 54 laps there. So he's back down 2 laps down, but he's got some fresh tires to come back through the field.
Yes, sir. It seems to be working just fine for him. So right now we're bouncing around between the 31 and the 47 here. So if he does that again, it's going to be at lap 130, roughly. So that's going to be in about 10 to 12 laps if he does follow that same run cycle as he did the first time. Which, I mean, that notion, he can make it the rest of the way. So I would imagine at some point in time in the next 10 laps, he will come down for the final stop. Maybe try to short pit it. You have a couple of extra laps there in that window that you can go the rest of the way in. So you might want to take advantage of that. You see the 03 David Courier. He's coming down pit road. I think that's one of the first cars to make a green flag pit stop here. So pit stops might be, a little bit sooner than expected.
Once one comes down, we start seeing a lot more, and that's what happened last time around. You seen Paul was one of the first ones to come down, and then I think it's just everyone else funneled down from there, and pretty quick as far as, I think we only had about 3 or 4 that were able to stay out, but once we start seeing a couple of these leaders come in, you're going to start seeing everyone follow.
It's typically what happens. You see a couple guys that you're racing come down, and you're like, well, I can't let them have that advantage, so I need to come down and mimic what they're doing. And because if I have the faster car, I can't let them beat me on pit strategy. So you got to do what you got to do. Even though you bring your playbook into this event, you still got to kind of keep an eye on what everybody else is doing to make sure they don't capitalize on something maybe that you did not find. And I think we saw that last time as everyone pitted within like a 2 or 3 lap span. It's kind of like monkey see, monkey do in effect there. But Richie Coy is now about 2.5 seconds back of Brody Hannes. That car is starting to fall off its pace here and allowing Brody to stretch that points lead out 2.5 seconds. That's a comfortable pace for that 23 to have. with about the last quarter of this race to go.
This is going to be, as far as they're playing their strategy out, it's probably going to be the final pit stop for these guys as long as this race keeps going green. So as far as the plays on a factor, you see Brody's loving this. As you mentioned, he's gaining on Richie 3 seconds or so right now over Richie Coy. So this is exactly what Brody is wanting to do, kind of the same as he did in the spring race, except he's not winning, but hey, he'd rather win the championship than win the race, I think.
Yeah, if you remember going back to the first few races of this season, his words were, I'm not here to win races. I'm here just racing the championship, or the playoffs rather. And he's doing exactly that. He did not bring the fastest car, but it doesn't matter. You only need to beat 3 others, not the other 25 that started this event. So he's doing exactly that. He's doing a phenomenal job at it. Got a 3-second advantage over his teammate now. This long run is playing to the factor of the 23, which is exactly what he told me pre-race. You needed to see this. It's clearly showing off that he has the fastest long run car out of the 3 others. And he is not missing a beat running this track. Super smooth, has not changed his lineup all race long. Yeah, 8 minutes of required repairs on that 98. You see on board now with the 11, Tony Solari. See what his point of view looked like.
Yeah, we were just talking about Tony too, and just right in front of him, just tried to collect it, I think, and just couldn't get going as you see him hit off the wall, and then he was just trying to collect it, and right in front of the 5 there.
As you're watching that replay, I'm trying to keep an eye out on Richie Coy, who made a late last-second dive to enter pit road. It looked like his tires were on the middle to outer part of that orange square, your commitment area, so to speak. Doesn't look like he had any penalty because he's still sitting 3rd in line here behind the pace car, but if he was over, I think, a millimeter or 2 more, I think he would have been pushed to the tail end of the field. It does not look like that's the case right there. Huge break there for the 19.
Same with Brody and the 23. They were both waiting on the 98, actually, from that wreck. He had to get back in front of them to come down pit road, so they were actually sitting there waiting for him and had to walk it up. So it could have been disastrous for both of those playoff drivers.
You're not kidding there. They almost rear-ended each other, trying to hit the brakes for the 98. They don't want to get sent to the tail end of the field just because, a guy is taking forever to get to pit road. Though his car was damaged, he had rightful reason. But here at FTSR, they don't like to utilize the manual flag throws. So if iRacing's going to throw it out there, they're not going to try to clear it unless it's absolutely necessary. And they stay very consistent to that rule. So they tried to slam on the brakes, wait for the 98 to come across. He finally did. Thankfully, no one had a penalty from that. So Richie Coy, though, Kenny, he's going to resume in front of his teammate, the 23 here, for this position. And Wayne Grossi in front of him, even.
You're going to have your contenders. James Wallace is 1 lap down, though, Jeremy. That caution coming out at the time it did was definitely not what he needed. He was on pit road, and we saw him come down later in the run last time around, and this time he decided to come down a little bit sooner, and unfortunately that might have cost him and put him that 1 lap down. If he would have just waited a little longer, it would have paid off. But we're seeing, looks like some wave rounds here.
Yeah, quite a few rave rounds. I actually missed who the lucky dog was supposed to be just because of all the trying to break down that replay of exactly what happened. But quite a few wave rounds here. Looks about 5 cars, 6 cars or so. Is they all going to get cycled through? I'm curious now, Kenny, Mr. James Wallace. He waved around. He did come down pit road. He's going to be quite a few spots back, though. I think his long race pace can be at times. I still wouldn't count the 67 out. I don't think we haven't seen the most of him just yet.
Yeah, and you see right there on the screen, Jeremy, James Wallace, Wayne Grossi, Richie Coy, Brody Hanna. This is kind of reversed, though, from what we see green flag, too, right as they got back on the field, so that was perfect timing. But these guys are spaced out a little bit as we see Nicholas Moreau diving to the inside, and Paul Bergoli's sitting on the outside, and we're going to head side by side. And yeah, Brody Hanna, Jeremy, he got a black flag for the 98. He is coming down pit road.
That is huge. That was the fastest of the championship 4. We've notated that several times. The 23 having pit road issues because of the wrecked car being a little slow getting to pit road. That is super unfortunate. I thought he had slowed down and gave him plenty of space, but apparently iRacing's commitment line on that was not in the same spot. It looks like we actually have a wreck in the back there as we got a couple cars spinning around. Caution's out for the 3rd time this evening. Looks like that's going to involve the 50. Nope, not the 57. It's going to be the 67. James Wallace and Steve Loomis, another championship contender, gets heavy door checked almost into the right rear there. I don't see any physical damage really to the 67, but once again, second time that James Wallace's car has been involved in a wreck here.
Jeremy, while that's going on, Paul Bergoli got a black flag. I'm not sure if it was for jumping the start or what, so we're going to have to go back and look at that as we see right here, the 67. Great save by him as he's getting hit by the 17, but that contact's not what he needed. But there's some black flags and action all over the track right now, and that might have been the best thing that Brody Hanna could have had, is that caution coming out when he came down pit road.
Yeah, if you need one, that's exactly what happens there, and you see Steve Loomis going around right there. Hitting the 67, doing a 360 and bringing it back. Not too much of an issue there. I don't know where that black flag came from. I mean, I'm going back at the start, and I guess the 15 had a late start, and you can't beat the leader to the line. But the 15 had such a slow start, though. I don't know. If you're race control, what do you do on that notion? Like, if you clearly see the 15 not starting when he should have, which these guys wait. They literally wait for the green flag. And if the one guy doesn't get rolling, you can't put the blame on the 8 for, getting what he can to try to beat the 15 on the start. But if they're going to hold that black flag for him, through this pit cycle, it's going to be huge.
And then, I think I just heard on the radio that Wayne Grossi might have one for passing under yellow too. So this has been a little chaotic here these last couple of actions. Yeah, Paul does have the black flag. He says he is going to be coming down once this restart comes to serve that black flag. So that is disappointing for Paul. He needed to get a win and have Nicholas fall back. And Jeremy, if Nicholas can keep this thing clean, that might be it, and that might have wrapped up C for him.
Yeah, we saw there on the replay, just as you were talking about that, the 15 clearly did not have a start that he needed. They even checked up Lane Allen and the 14 behind him. He had to lift quite a bit to not hit the back of the 15. So Paul, focused on getting to the line and having a good start, with the 15 ducking down so low. You can't tell where the other guy's at. You have no visual of him. So you're just trying to go, and then you get tagged for a flag that, it's not his fault per se, because you just, how you cut the dog leg so early at this track, you have no visual of the guy. So really tough break there for the 8 to serve that black flag if he indeed is going to, which you said or the way it's looking, he's going to be serving that penalty. And it looks like it's on green flag situation too, which makes things worse.
Yeah, we'll be on green flag. He's going to come down to the inside here when he gets a chance, he said. And with that too, Jeremy, even though he caught a break with the caution, it might have been 2 laps, that's still going to put Brody Hanna 1 lap down. And he's not the first one lap down. He's still going to have to get around 3 other guys, Jeremy, if he wants to have a chance at possibly the lucky dog. So within a matter of 10 laps, we've had quite a change here, and it's just going to change even more once Paul comes down. But Richie Coy, Jeremy, sitting in 4th place. He's going to be leading this championship 4.
Yeah, this is going to be huge. Brody Hanna, the 23, James Wallace, the 67. They're going to be starting side by side, 13th and 14th. Mid-pack here, actually toward the end of the field, because we have 18 cars, it looks like, or 17 cars left in this race. So they're going to be toward the tail end of the field, duking it out for their own, position at this point. I'm sure they'll get around most of these guys that are currently 1 lap down. That's not the problem, I don't think. It's just them two going to be battling out for that lucky dog position. If we can get one more caution, it's going to benefit them a lot. And then the other 2 guys, Richie Coy and Wayne Grossi, Wayne's got his best chance this evening, sitting there currently in 7th place. Richie Coy currently in 4th. It's only 3 positions separate the 19 and the 7. The 7 has had a pretty good car. He's just had the first stint wasn't to his favorite, but it looks like he's worked on it and got it better. We're going to see, though, as we go back to green flag, let's see if the 15 can get a normal good start that we've seen all season long from him. and he does go. I think the 8 definitely hesitated that time, saying, hey, I'm not going to get tagged for this again. They space out 3 wide through the dogleg on this restart as they funnel back up to the top side of the track. Looks like Paul is still running mid-line here. I don't see him coming down pit road just yet, Kenny.
Yeah, he just said he's going to be coming down, not this time, but once they come around this next time, he'll be coming down. But Wayne was able to get a great jump, Jeremy. He's on the inside right now with Fred Moreau in that 5, trying to make a pass. Actually, 7's coming down now. Wayne Grossi's coming down. I forgot he had that one for passing under yellow, Jeremy, so he's actually going to be giving that up, and that's putting Richie Coy in smooth sailing. That's going to put him in second spot right now.
So many black flags for people of championship position. And one caution, you have the 7, the 8, the 23 all being affected by a penalty. That's half of your 6 cars that are currently running for some sort of championship. Really, really tough. Kind of chaotic, and such an odd position to be in, to have so many cars that are running for a championship to be affected in one caution.
And Richie, I mean, he's smooth sailing right now. He's the only one on the lead lap, sitting in 4th place right now. Kind of let those guys go by. Behind him, I saw Brody Hannon trying to make his way up through the field, trying to get by these other cars that he needs to. I think Ryan Hedrick is the Wayne Grossi is 1 lap down, but I think it's going to turn into Ryan Hedrick here soon, is the one he needs to get around, and he's only a couple spots ahead of him. So if another caution comes out, Brody wants to get back on the lead lap, especially if there's only 8 drivers right now, Jeremy. That's going to be, you're going from a lap down to inside the top 10 is pretty good chances once you have a restart.
23 Brody Hanna and the 67 of James Wallace. They are looking on only one car right now, and that's that palish green 47 from Boomerang Motorsports. That's Ryan Hedrick. That is the car to beat at the moment. And actually coming back this time around, Paul Bergoli with that penalty is now 1 lap down. So Paul, who's actually a few spots ahead and a much faster car than the 23 and the 67 and everybody else, he is the lucky dog contender. So forgetting about him, now he's in the top spot for that transfer to get back on the lead lap. And I don't think he's going to give that up. So right now, Paul needs that caution to get him back onto the lead lap.
Yeah, I don't believe he's going to be giving that up one bit. It's kind of like they're still in that same running order they were with Nicholas and Paul, except for there's just a 1 lap down scenario on Paul's end, unfortunately. But they put quite a gap, Nicholas did, especially while everyone was battling out there and coming down to serve their penalties. He's got a 3-second lead over Wayne Allen, which Wayne Allen's put on a strong performance. But Fred Moreau, Jeremy, he just made his way around, and we've been talking about him all night. He's started a 20 spots gain tonight, starting in 22nd, moved all the way up to 2nd place. And I don't think he's done yet. He wants to see how close he can get to Nicholas, Jeremy. He's 3.5 back. Let's see how much ground he can gain here in these last 55 laps.
He is definitely not done yet. I called him out 100 laps ago saying you're gonna see more out of this guy, and here he is. Hard charger up into 2nd place for the first time this evening after some cautions here. We're seeing the 19 right on his bumper here, and Brody Hanna, Wayne Grossi in the 7. Those guys are bumper to bumper going through these set of corners here, trying to get everything they can. But right now, Fred Moreau and Nicholas Moreau, both related to each other, on the same team, running 1 and 2 right now. The dominant team. The 7 makes a sharp cut, try to get below the 23 through the dogleg this time. Enters turn 1 and 2 almost side by side, and it looks like the 7's gonna have the preferred lane here, going through 1 and 2. And going back over to the chat, Surfer Puntket, rooting for Paul Bergoli. So mad about this black flag. They should have overturned that. That's definitely going to be the talk of this race, is who should have had that black flag, who should have not. I think there was 3 different black flags and 1 caution, so there was a lot for race control to take care of there. And just deciding this is just in my opinion, with all those caution or all the penalties and whatnot, it's one of those things where it's like, how do you pick and choose which one's valid, which one's not, with so many things going on the track? So they just kind of had to let it ride out. Unfortunately, it's gonna really mess someone's night up. Quite a few of them actually, but there's a weird, chaotic last caution there.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, it's this week doesn't really kind of controls that as much, where they let iRacing control the blacks and the flags and everything. So they don't want to control the race too much. So unless it's something too crazy, so like you mentioned, just too much probably going on to kind of pick through everything. And that happens sometimes. But there's still a chance. I mean, if like you mentioned, Paul is the first one that's one lap down. He might even be able to get around Nicholas and get it back the old-fashioned way. So we'll just have to see what happens. There's still plenty of time and excitement. I mean, we had a whole bunch of changes just in 10 laps, so still got 50 to go.
Well, Paul's trying everything possible to get back around either the old-fashioned way or through virtue of the lucky dog. Maybe because you're out of position. Maybe you just sit there and you go, you know what? I'm in the lucky dog spot. Why try to do it the old-fashioned way and give someone like Brody Hanna a chance to get back on the lead lap on the very next caution, right? So that could be a potential strategy move, to just kind of lay back and sit there as your first car one lap down right behind Nicholas Moreau. As we got less than 50 laps to go here tonight, got about 47 at the line. There's no more green flag pit stop. So this is it. This is what you got, unless there's another caution, which we've seen 3 tonight. And this being Phoenix in the championship race and people trying to get where they need to be, might warrant at least one more.
As you see, Brody Hanna was able to get around Richie Coy there. Not for position, but just on the track, and Richie was able to get around Wayne Allen, so that's going to put Richie back into third, right behind his teammate there, Brody Hanna. Oh, we see right here on board just Joshua Johnson right into the back of the 12 there, Josh May, I believe. Yeah, that was a hard hit, as you see the nose crumple in there on Joshua Johnson.
Just drove it in really deep there, and that's for 5th position. That 57, Joshua Johnson, resumed 5th after all the penalties there. The number 12 not in position. He is currently 1 lap down, but the 57, who's in 5th, needs to be a little careful on that end. Make sure to keep that nose clean. And it looked like he just drove it in a little too deep that time. It was always under fire by the 67 to James Wallace. Also not for position. 67 is currently 1 lap down still.
And these teammates are gonna help each other. But we see the 67's got a little damage there on his right side, and that was from that incident earlier where he almost lost with the 17, Steve Loomis, but he was able to hold on to it. But definitely did take some damage and impact there on that right side.
Yeah, that car's been involved in several incidences tonight. Not the kind of thing that you want to see when you're going for a trophy. Currently, one of the guys 1 lap down. 3 of the 4 contenders are currently there 1 lap down. Just the only one that's not. It's that 19 Richie Coy. Not setting a fast pace at all, but hey, if you're the only person on the lead lap, you don't need to set a fast pace. You just got to make sure it's clean. That's exactly what the 19's doing. And man, what a flip. What a flip of a scenario between lap 100 and now. Who would have thought that everything would have been flipped upside down at this point?
And Brody just wants to have the caution come back and try and get away back around, because as you mentioned, coming into this pit stops there, he was the fastest car on the track, and he was able to get around his teammate Richie right there, who is probably content with also letting him by just because of the scenario you just mentioned. But Brody's definitely trying to get back around him because he has the speed. But Richie can keep pace with Brody there and not lose any speed on Wayne Allen behind him, and still maintain and do what he needs to do to win that championship.
He's doing all he can right now. Just got to keep that nose clean on the 19. I'm sure he is saying, hey, I think cautions need to be no more. Let's just run this thing to the end. And he's got this thing sealed up. Nicholas Moreau also in that same boat for the 2022 C Championship. You see he's on his own island still. Paul Bergoli, the only car behind him within view, essentially. Just about 4 seconds separates him and Paul. Again, Paul actually more like 3 seconds, but Paul is not for position again. He is the first car 1 lap down. Really hoping for that caution to come out sooner than later. He wants to have a battle with the 15 like he was for the first 100 and so laps. But yeah, he's just got to do what he's got to do. Hold that spot, pray for the caution. That's all you can do here.
As we see, different strategy still playing out, Jeremy, as far as who's diving in on the inside once they come across the start-finish line. But see, Brody lost a couple spots there. Wayne Allen was able to get around him as well. So they might have put a little bit too much on those tires too early. we'll have to see how he kind of plays out. But he's not keeping up with them through the corners as well as he was. Not sure if he lost a little bit of grip or not.
I'll do a quick shout out to one of our partners this time over at iRacing iFlag. iRacing iFlag is the iRacing standard for open source race marshalling lightboard system. That's a lot of words that just mean it's a really cool, unique, one-of-a-kind product. 64 light-emitting diode LEDs that display up to 30 different iRacing notifications. Super bright. You're going to know exactly what's going on the track at all times. You don't need to have the spotter turned up. You don't need to have the flags there in the little top left-hand corner of your screen. This product takes care of it for you. It's really bright. It's like kind of like it's an enhanced version of the lights that sit on the catch fence of each and every NASCAR track here. So if you want to pick up something to kind of complete your sim rig in a unique way, head yourself over to iracingiflag.com. And 70% of the proceeds, they also go back into the sim racing community through driver sponsorships, event sponsorships, and charities, and more. So these guys definitely do a lot of work for the sim community. And on top of that, they produce a pretty cool product. And if you do want to purchase one of their units from iracingiflag.com, you can use that promo code SUPERNERD. Again, it's going to save you this time 15% off anything that you purchase from iRacing And we got about 35 laps to go at this point. Nicholas Moreau and Fred Moreau have a 5.5 second separation. Richie Coy sitting at a cool 9.3 seconds back. He's got nothing to worry about on his end as far as points go. Michael Dessa on the chat saying, pray for yellow. I'm sure everyone in that Paul Bergoli camp is praying for the same thing. It wouldn't be unheard of, having three. And these guys are still pretty dicey mid-pack here around James Wallace, especially the 31, the 11. There's a couple packs here that are running pretty close, so you might have a chance.
Yeah, last time we switched over to the 11 Tony Solaro, we had a little incident right in front of him, so maybe that's what they're hoping for right now. But you see Brody Hanna, Jeremy's just lost the grip on that 23 car. As we saw, he lost the ground there on Wayne Allen and Richie Coy, and he's under fire with that pack right behind him. I mean, there's 6 cars that sit there want to get by Brody Hanna as much as they can, and you see a 31 here, Alex Murphy looking on the inside. Brody doesn't allow it to happen, shuts the door on him, but they want to get by Brody as quick as they can.
67 to James Wallace is for position for Brody Hanna. That's to be second in the points there, and they got 2 positions separate those guys. Let's see if the 11 of Tony Solari can kind of mix it up and help his 23 teammate, maybe cause that gap a little more. 11 doesn't give him too much room in that dogleg section. The 67 clears the 11 temporarily, but Brody's trying everything he can. 31 does get around him. Now it's just the 67 and the 23 coming off of turn number 2. 67 gets really loose, still loose. Saves excellent driving there, but he's going to lose 3 to 4 spots doing so. Excellent driving there by the 67. Hold on to that thing.
It's great save. That was kind of similar to what we saw with the 98 there, but was able to bring it under control and not put it in the wall, but did lose about 3 spots during all that. But looking up ahead of them, Jeremy, Richie Coy and Wayne Allen, they're still fighting it out. Wayne is not letting Richie get any further than a couple tenths ahead of him, and he's been right there this entire time. These last 20 laps or so, just been all over the back bumper of Richie Coy going back and forth. So he's trying to get him a podium spot, and I'm surprised. I think if Richie had something where he had to die off, he's probably going to let Lane go just because the gap he has and what's on the line. But right now he knows he's faster than Lane, so he's not going to let him go by. But Lane's right there.
I'm sure if he's paying attention to anything in the point system right now, that the 19 has just wide open track as far as not have to worry about losing a spot to one of his championship contenders as well. 14 wants to finish in that podium spot to come up here and talk to us, the nerds. And he's got a really good car to do so. Only 2 car lengths separates him. Excellent pressure, as you said. As we got 30 laps left in this event, I think Lane's going to make this pass.
I think so. I think he's got a real shot for it. He's got the speed. He's been having the speed all night. And we saw kind of how Richie's run towards the end of the long run he's been kind of dying out. So this could be potentially what Lane needs and get him a podium finish right towards the end of the season and carry that momentum on to next season.
Kicking it back over to Paul Bergoli. Look where he is at on the tail end of the 15, trying to get the lap back the hard way. As you said, he does not want to wait for that lucky dog. He just wants to take it now, but he's going to put Brody Hanna in that transfer spot if he does make this pass. Let's see if he does complete it. He backs this corner up in turn 1 here. But he's definitely got the faster car than the 15 this time around. He runs to the mid lane, so it looks like he's ready to pounce on this position. Gets a great run on quarter exit. Looks to the bottom. Paul Bergoli going to dive into turn 3 and gets his lap back. The first or last car on the lead lap. 8 cars now going to be on the lead lap.
Was able to get that lap back, like you mentioned. Now that'll put him, as far as when they're coming down pit road, he will have to catch up to the field, but that would help him on the pit cycles, not being too far behind as far as when the field bunches up before they come down pit road. So that'll be nice, but that would put Brody, as you mentioned, possibly not wanting to get his lap back. That would put Brody back on the lead lap, Jeremy. So, but that's maybe not what Richie wanted to see, because Richie, even though they're teammates, that does put him in danger of having to battle it out if a caution does come out.
Yeah, this is exactly what Brody needs. If there's anything to go right at this point forward, is to see that 8 car past the 15. He knows he's got the best chance here he could possibly have. He's got the 11, his teammate behind him, so he knows there's going to be no pressure from that point forward. Josh Mayu is about a second and a half back of the 23. So the 11 can play a little bit of defense for that 23 to keep the 12 behind him. So all we need right now is a caution for Fury to get back up there and mix it up with Richie Coy, because we know Brody Hanna has the faster car of the 2. Just, it takes one caution and 1 car issue to stir up the entire event, apparently. So the 23 is trying to recover as much as he can, but 12 car Josh Mayu, I think he's a little bit faster than Brody Kenny. I think he's, once he gets around that 11, I think it might be a good race here. For their position in particular, they're in just out of the top 10.
Yeah, and I'm sure the 11 there, Tony Solari, will probably slow up that 12 just a little bit if he does try to make a move, since he is, that Fury Motorsports teammate. So it's just battles all over the place, whether you're lap down one championship or the other. And Wayne Allen he's right on the back bumper of Richie Coy, Jeremy. He had to lose it a little bit there in the corner, but he was right up there within a couple feet from his back bumper as they enter turn 1.
I know he's not worried of the 14 getting to the bumper. These guys have raced clean all year long, but the same token, you're like, I'm in such a comfortable position. I don't need any car to be this close to me. That's not for position, except for, the podium spot being P3 versus P4. But as far as championshipness is concerned, he's like, just do what you got to do, man. Essentially, I would be like, I'll give him my podium spot to secure a championship dream here. But still running strong, the 19 third place now with 22 laps to go.
22 laps doesn't seem like much, but that's still a lot of race to go, and a lot can happen. As these tires start wearing down, I start seeing some guys sliding all over the place. So there's still a chance that some things can happen, and we got the chat that's opened up. We know that they would like that, and we have some that probably wouldn't like Richie Coy. As you see, the Wayne Allen though going on the inside of Richie Coy, that's going to take over 3rd spot, and Richie not even putting up a fight. Like we were saying, no need for that. Just take that 4th and still 1st in the championship points, which is what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, Richie gave him the entire length of the corner separation, make sure that was the cleanest pass possible. Wayne Allen will resume in podium position, P3. It's going to drop back Richie to P4. Still the only guy in the championship 4 right now on the lead lap with 20 laps to go. Coming down to the closing end here. At what point is too late for that caution? Because if they all pit, it's going to be at least 4 car separation between Richie and Brody if there is one more caution. So you're going to need the caution. The laps are going to tick down. And then you got to pass the guys, right? And 4 or 5 cars, it's going to take a few laps. So at what point do you think is going to be, all that you can do and secure that championship for the 19?
And the other thing to keep an eye on here is the difference between 1st and 2nd. Nicholas and Fred, about 2/10 that last lap. Fred's been gaining ground on Nicholas. I'm not sure if he's just cruising there or if he's losing some speed, because you see in front of him there, Paul Bergoli was able to pull on him once he was able to get his lap back too. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if Nicholas is maybe just taking it easy or if he's lost some speed here.
Well, if it goes back to the previous long run sessions that we've had, the 5 has had the fastest pace after 20 to 30 laps on a set of tires. So it's no surprise to me we're seeing Fred Moreau being slightly faster than his teammate Nicholas Moreau here late in the going. Their last pit stop, I do believe, if I go through the lap cycle correctly, was lap 138, 139. They're on lap 183. So that's 50 or 40 laps rather. So this is where the 5 has been shining all race long here at Phoenix.
Yeah, there's no one except for Courier going around him right now, but I believe he probably has some fresher tires. But other than that, there's no one really that he's going to have to worry about making his way up through the field to pass as he's trying to catch up to Nicholas Moreau there. So that's going to help save his tires. You see Lane Allen, too, also put quite a distance there on Richie Coy once he was able to get around him. And I kind of might think the question as well with Richie, is he kind of just taking it easy because Alex Murphy's 3 seconds back of him. So he's got plenty of space around him, just kind of hang out and cruise, and hopefully 16 more laps might take home that championship.
Yeah, you just cruise. There's no reason to press anything on the track at this point in time with 15 laps to go. You just turn the laps and you bring it home. That's all you can do at this point. Going back to the chats, Michael Desta saying, "Hey, race control, I saw some debris on the track. Driver safety comes first." You know that how the cheerleaders work in that notion. They're looking at everything on the track. And, if you have enough marbles at the top of the track, you can technically call it debris, but I don't think they're going to throw the caution for that.
There's a few out there that wish they would, though.
You're not wrong. I can name a couple numbers off the top of my head, like the 23, the 67, of course, the 8. Surfer Paquette concurs, of course. It makes too much sense to not. But these laps are, it's getting close to crunch time. You need the caution now if you're going to make any advancement to try to get back to where you were, because if the caution comes out now, it's going to give you about 9 laps to go from 8th place, which is all sitting now, to back to potential the race lead. And the way Nicholas has been running these short runs, it's been all but sealed up here for this 15. He's been so strong. Not a single issue from that car. Just super consistent. That's what you need to do to lock up this championship.
Yeah, and even with his teammate in the 5 right behind him, making his way up, just gaining 10th after 10th, lap after lap, I think he's okay if he actually gets up there and gets by him, because, as you mentioned, yeah, might not be the race win, but you're still taking home a championship at the end of the day as well. So, once these guys get up there, we'll see what happens. But he is gaining. Fred is now 1.6 seconds back, Jeremy. So, as you mentioned earlier, these longer runs, that car just gets stronger and stronger.
Yep, as we're coming up to about 11 laps to go at this point. Looks like everything's basically settled in for the top runners. A little bit of a battle between the 23 and the 98, and also the 11 still on the tail of his teammate. So a couple of closer battles happening mid-pack. Outside of that, it's been kind of a, taking it easy scenario. 57 looked like he was a little loose that time exiting turn 2. Struggling on exit 4. It's going to allow James Wallace to look to the inside to try to make this pass here. Actually backs out of that attempt entering turn number 1. Going to go back to single file formation. But, 10 laps to go. Trying to get everything they can. These guys are all for position back here.
And they're battling it out because, they're just trying to get at every spot they can. You never know what's going to come in these last 10 laps, but not giving up, hoping for an opportunity to get back up there, especially the 23, Brody Hanna, and the 6-7 of James Wallace. Just want a shot, try and get back up there. I think realistically, Brody might be the only one if that comes down to it, just because of how many laps we've already put on these tires. But good, just overall, Jeremy, this whole season, A, B, C, playoffs, everything. It's been a great racing season, great battles all year long between different drivers. And that just sets up for 2023 to just probably be one of the best years yet.
And for all you guys that are watching right now, if you want to be a part of this action. 2023, I don't know if there's officially opened up yet, just because there's an off season where you got a month and a half of just fun off racing. I think there's an Xfinity little season going on between now or next week rather, and then the time where the actual NASCAR guys get it back going in February. A couple other different series I think are going to be popping up as well in the near future. So head over to ftsr.net if you want to be a part of this awesome action you see each and every week with us here on Mondays. And of course, we're only broadcasting the Monday stuff, but the trucks might return on cameras. Who knows? You know, that's something in the works. But right now, this is the Premier Series. So if you want to be a part of it, you're going to use the Truck Series to kind of boost your way up into the Monday night stuff. So please join in. There are open invitations across the board. It's a really cool system with the iRacer Hub. Nobody else really utilizes this product. It's kind of newer to the market. Little charter system, if you will. You're going to find it at iRacerHub.com, and that's associated with the Full Throttle Sim Racing.net, guys. So get yourself registered today. Coming up to 5 laps to go. Moreau only has a 1.1 second advantage on this 5, Kenny. Don't count out Fred just yet. He has gained over a second in the past 10 to 15 laps, so he's making that really late charge we've seen every single time.
Yeah, and he's gained about 0.2 a lap at one point in time, and I mean, we got 5 laps to go, so he might be timing this thing just perfect. But, you know, it's one thing to get to him, you got to get another to get past him, and in 5 laps he'd be cutting it close. He's not really gaining too much on this lap right here. So he's going to have a big run, or possibly a hiccup from Nicholas. But either way, looking good for the Moreau Motorsports here with these two, 1-2. And as we mentioned, Wayne Allen still sitting in 3rd place, Jeremy, with their overall championship leader, Richie Coy, in 4th.
Yep, 19 still the only guy in the lead lap that's going for the championship here. It's all but done. If there's one late caution, it's only going to be for a green white checkered, and I don't think there's going to be enough time for anyone to get around him. So at this point, I think Richie has this in the books. Coming up to 3 laps to go in the overall 2022 season, the main season, that is, which is only just going to be about a minute or so around Phoenix. It's only 30 seconds a lap, just about. Nicholas Moreau, Fred Moreau, less than a second now separate these two guys. 0.987 at the line last time, coming up to 2 laps to go. I think Fred has stalled out enough to where the 15 doesn't have to worry about him. Going to the chats here for one of the final times this year. Paul had something really going for Moreau at the end. It would have been good to finish off a great season. And then Nicole says, you guys are great. Love the commentary. Also, Paul is still number 1 to us. Does not matter where he finishes. Appreciate all the feedback you guys give us in the interactions. But we are coming up to the white flag here. Fred gained another 10th that last lap. Comes up 0.7. So I don't think it's going to be enough time. The 15 got 3 more corners to tackle here. As he goes through turn number 2, no worries. The 5 will not get to him. For the first time this season, as my producers in my ear saying, Paul Bergoli, podium Paul. He gives up the final race as the first race not to be in podium, but the 15 gets the checker flag for the Martin Sports winning moment. Nicholas Moreau comes home P1 for a dominant season closure. Gonna win the 2022 C Championship. Richie Coy crosses the line in 4th place. Crown Richie Coy your 2022 overall championship winner. Congratulations to the 15 and the 19 on an awesome job here to close out the season. Well earned by these two guys.
Yeah, great race there. Good win by Nicholas. Great championship run by Richie. Wayne Allen with a great run there, get inside the podium, get a conversation with him. Just overall, it was a great race.
Yeah, I mean, it was that mid-race around lap 130, 120, that was a very eventful section there. It really flip-flopped the race. It caused a lot of different storylines to happen out of the blue. Sometimes you can't control things on the track. Paul did everything correct. It's just One caution kind of flipped some things. Brody Hand on the same token, he did everything he could. He brought the fastest car out of the team, out of everybody really within the championship contention. And it just takes one wrecked car to kind of flip everything. You see the 15 and 19 celebrating on the front stretch section on the apron, doing their dual burnout, celebrating their championships. But this is going to bring the official grid finishing order presented by Sim Racing Points. Nicholas Moreau is going to bring it home P1. Fred Moreau, teammate P2. Lane Allen's going to bring it home in third place. Richie Coy, fourth. Alex Murphy comes back into the top five. Sixth place, Tony Solari. Seventh place, going to find Joshua Johnson. Eighth place in the last car on the lead lap, Paul Bergoli. First car one lap down. And ninth, Josh Mayu. And to round out tonight's top 10, at 23, Brody Hanna.
And 11th is going to be James Wallace with his teammate and Ryan Hedrick right behind him in 12th. 13th is going to be David Courier. 14th is going to be Wayne Grossi. 15th, Brian Dubois. Coming home 16th is going to be Steve Loomis. 17th, Chris Curtis. 18th is going to be Alan Correll. 19th, Ryan Chapman. And around at top 20 is Brandon Elder.
21st, Brian Bliss. 22nd, Martin Garreau. 23rd, Sherwood Williford. 24th, Simon Magdan. And the round out tonight's 25 car lineup, Chris Beck. And those guys in the last four spots, those are the guys that got wrecked on lap 2 in that big wreck. Not usual for this league, but sometimes things happen in a shorter track like Phoenix. Couple of different wrecks that kind of change some things up for these guys. But as we kind of settle in and get to our top 3 for post-race interview and then our season C champion, Nicholas Moreau, we're going to kick it back to one last commercial break to end off 2022. So we'll be right back with you guys after a few brief messages. All right, welcome guys for the post-race show here presented by Martin Sports. We're going to talk to some drivers here to get their final thoughts and, of course, talk to our 2 championship winners, one for the 2022 C and one for the overall 2022 playoff championship. First, we're going to try to bring in Mr. Lane Allen, a driver of the 14, finishes P3 tonight. Mr. Lane Allen, do you have a copy?
Gotcha.
Man, what a pretty awesome race overall for you guys. You caught a huge break there with that lap 130 incident where it just kind of shook up the entire field. You had a strong car, but it didn't really set you up for the top 3 overall. Walk us through your overall race here tonight at Phoenix.
Yeah, it looks like I was just better on the long run than I was the short run. There was several that seemed to be able to pass me early in the run.
Yeah, you definitely had the long run speed kicking in there and was able to make that pass on Richie. And once you got around Richie, I think you able to pull on him pretty quick there. How's this momentum feel to go into, once you're going the off season, but into the next season there, carrying the home this third place and just knowing that you have the speed to get up there with these guys and compete for the wins?
Yeah, it feels good to me. I'm glad to be here. I'm ready for next year for sure.
Yeah, it looks like you had a pretty strong momentum there in the back half of the year, and I think that's definitely going to shine for you guys for the year 2023. Before we let you go, though, of course, we'd like to give get your final thoughts and takes of tonight's event.
It was an awesome race. Not many cautions, and thanks to everybody on my team and FTSR.
Appreciate the words there, Mr. Lane Allen. Go ahead and celebrate tonight on your well-earned top 3 finish tonight.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. That was Lane Allen, the driver of the 14. I do not believe we're going to have Fred Moreau again for you guys tonight, so we're going to kick it over to your race winner / 2022 C champion, Mr. Nicholas Moreau. You got a copy?
Yes, sorry, guys.
Congratulations, man, on winning the C championship. I know it's going to mean a lot for you tonight, claiming that with your third victory of the season out of only 10 races. You won a third of them, essentially. How much prep time did you have for Phoenix? I know you were kind of excited for it, but I'm kind of curious to know how much time you prepped, because that car looked super dominant out there.
I would say too much. My wife is probably watching this interview, so I'm not sure if I can tell, but honestly, I mean, maybe more than 1,000 laps. And yeah, I was well prepared for sure, with many scenarios, different strategies, and for different pace. So yeah, I ran a lot of laps.
Yeah, it looked like you definitely put in the time. Congratulations on the 2022 C championship there. Looks like you definitely had the speed tonight, even later in the runs, as Fred was trying to catch up to you. You still were able to pull on him and had the speed. It definitely showed. Do you feel like this is going to carry in some good momentum into the next season as well for you with the championship for C in 2022?
Well, I think so. Yeah, it's gonna be very fun. Those guys are very, very hard to. It's fun, first of all, to compete with these guys, because it's clean and you need to be prepared, and that's what I like. So yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be I mean, it's gonna be fun for sure, because I don't know what my plan for the next season, but yeah, I see for sure.
Well, I'm glad the 4-digit lap count paid off. It brought you a victory tonight, and it also brought you the championship. So all the hard work did pay off. You're glad to see it. One of the few guys that did not get mixed up on that lap 130 incident. I'm sure you're super thankful for that. But man, the floor is yours. You did everything right tonight. You claimed a victory in 2 different ways. Floor is yours. What's your final thoughts of tonight, and anyone you have out there to thank?
Well, I will start with saying thanks to our partners and sponsors like Transit, Go to Mami, EasyWeb Pro, Lassie Sport. Thank you guys for being here for all season. Nice work. I would say thanks to Brody and all the admin for that league. It's very fun to race in. People in there are very nice. Yeah, and I would say thanks for my teammates, because they ran a lot of laps on my setups, giving me some feedback. It helped a lot, and yeah, so I'm very, very proud of me for sure, and exhausted.
I'm sure.
And yeah, so I'm very happy for that.
Well, congratulations once again on just overall dominant 2022 C. Hopefully we see you back. You said you don't know your plans just yet, but hopefully that gets figured out soon, and maybe we'll see you compete for the overall 2023 championship at FTSR. But either way, go and celebrate tonight, man.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
Yes, sir. And that was Mr. Nicholas Moreau, the driver of the 15. Awesome job by him overall. So I think we got one more person left to talk to, Kenny. That's going to be your overall 2022 champion, Mr. Richie Coy. Do you have a copy?
What's up, nerds?
Hey, man. You had the car that was like second fastest, maybe third fastest at times, and then lap 130 happened. And you were just gifted the best gift of them all, and you took home the championship with a smooth sailing run for the final 60 laps or so. Congratulations, but walk us through that. That was pretty chaotic. We saw 3 different black flags affecting 3 of the 6 total championship contenders out there, not including you. I gave you the chance to get out here and get the championship. So walk us through the night, man.
Well, it started out with me needing one of them air sickness bags sitting next to me. I was so damn nervous starting this race. Everything coming down to one race makes it very tense and stuff. And then I had a good car first 10, 15 laps, and then it just went to junk on that first stint. And I went backwards, and Brody went forwards, and I was like, oh man. And then I tightened it up for the second stint, and it got a little better. And then I got to run behind Brody for most of that second stint. And then I was going to do another early pit stop before him, and I tightened it up again. And then that last run was the best run, but that caution came out and totally changed everything, and just wanted not to make any mistakes that last 60 laps.
You could definitely see the adjustments that you're making throughout the night, because you had the speed, like you mentioned, starting out and then just dropped off, but fought the way back, and just adjustment by adjustment, it sounds like. And I mean, overall, though, just throughout the whole year, you've been consistent, winning races, been up in the top 5, even missed some races, and still just showing that consistency. So overall, I mean, I feel like this has been, a great season for you across the whole board in all series. But of course, taking the top spot here at the Mach-1 Performance Cup Series is the what you want to do. But it's just been an all around great year for you, Richie.
Yeah, I mean, it was an unbelievable year. It's going to be hard to top this year, between all the stuff that happened. I can't thank, my team, everybody behind me. Brody and Tony are the greatest teammates that you could possibly have. Fury Motorsports all behind me in all the series. And, yeah, this is it was just a storybook year. It's just awesome.
Yeah, and your 8th victory too to cap it off too. I think you're the most winning driver out of the entire year. So congratulations on that as well. So it puts you more of a well-earned spot there for that championship.
Yeah, you guys went ahead and missed my win last week.
We did. We were out there. I was, Team Rocket holding or capturing Pikachu, trying to collect some candy. But unfortunately, we did have to miss that one. But you said, you know what? I'm going to make up for it. I'm going to get you guys tonight. And you sure did.
I'd much rather talk to you guys tonight than last week. That's for sure.
No kidding, right? But floor is yours, man. Final time this year. Who do you got to thank out there?
Again, I got my team behind me, Fury, Tony and Brody behind me. We worked really, really hard all year long in all of our series to put the best product we possibly could on the track. I think Brody got second in the points tonight, so congratulations to him. Tony got a 6th place tonight, which is also awesome for him. It just, thanks to the league. Congratulations to Nicholas on his 2022 C championship. Would have liked to seen Paul get the run with him to finish off that championship, but nice congrats to him for the win and the championship. And thanks to you guys. Fantastic year broadcasting. Can't wait to hopefully bring you guys back next year, and everybody gets bigger and better. And yeah, just thanks to everybody with the league. It was awesome.
And as the numbers continue to rise here in the Cup Series, we saw an average of just around 30 drivers. That's amazing to see. Hopefully that trend continues as next year rolls around and you have even better performances. But congratulations for the final time, man. Go ahead and celebrate with all your teammates and everyone that helped you get here. Go and have a good night.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. And that's going to be Mr. Richie Coy, 2022 overall champion, 8 wins, the most of any driver throughout the entire season. So that stat alone definitely makes him worthy of the championship. Kenny, final thoughts on Phoenix here?
It was a great race, great battles all around. Capped off a good season. Crazy there with all the black flags. Wish that kind of wouldn't have happened. It would have been a little bit better finish there, but with everything all around. But it's okay. Other than that, it was a great race overall, and again, caps off a good season.
Yep, and definitely looking forward to 2023 and see what that has to bring for the guys at FTSR. I'd like to do a quick shout out once again to everyone who gets us here every single Monday night for you guys. Martin Sports, top quality apparel that makes you look stylish and feel comfortable. See the whole apparel lineup at martinsports.gg. Got iRacing, iFlag. Get notifications fractions of a second faster without all of your focus leaving the track. Visit iRacingIFlag.com for a full product line. Thank you to the Butt Kicker. To get that ultimate feel of a race car with haptic response from the Butt Kicker, visit their site at thebuttkicker.com to see a full product line of haptic products for your sim rig. Roasted Gems Coffee, premium coffee beans roasted just for you. Start your day the right way with coffee from Roasted Gems Coffee. And you're going to go to their website at roastedgems.com to get a taste. Now, everybody else, I'd like to also give a quick shout out to simracingpoints.com. These guys produce awesome products as far as keeping your league up to date. Produces every single stat that you ever need for your league, and you look super professional while doing it. And the price point's actually a pretty good price considering everything they do behind the scenes. You're going to go to simracingpoints.com. Check out their pricing plans. You can go to fullthrottlesimracing.net too, FTSR.net. They use that stuff. You can see how well it's laid out. Everything looks super clean. I love it. And then lastly, at Mach-1 Performance, the Monday Night Cup Series sponsor. It's a race fabrication shop started by the late Johnny Coy Jr. The shop has produced championship winners from the SCCA and NASA dirt and pavement oval racing. So if they're in your area, head over to facebook.com/Mach-1 Performance and see if what they can do for you for your short track car. Final thank you to Kenny Pashibi-Neck to my right. Thank you for being with me all season long. And then also Mr. Dustin Logston, who's behind the scenes on the camera. Sometimes, not tonight, but huge shout out to him. He's been doing so much work this year to bring you a bunch of different camera angles, unique look, unique feel. So just much love to you guys over here at NERDtv. Thank you for everything. You're going to catch us. We have a couple more events that we're going to be broadcasting out before the actual 22 calendar year is over with. But as far as FTSR, this is our final broadcast of the year. So thank you once again. You guys out there, as always, make sure to stay safe and to get your nerd on.